Good morning. I am Bryant Carpenter, sports editor of the Meriden Record Journal, alongside my right-hand man, my brother in blue, Mr. Sean Kid Crossick. Shawnee, it is late at night. I know folks are watching this first thing Saturday morning, but it's late at night. We are in the midnight hour with Wilson Pickett and Mr. Spencer Davis, who's going to be here even longer putting this together, because what a highlight show we have for this week, Shawnee. This week in high school sports. Shawnee, week 4 of football. Crazy, man.
Yeah, we had some teams playing overtime, too.
Not one, but two. And not one overtime, but 2 overtimes. 6 games total.
Yeah.
We got them all in the books. Crazy, man. Platt and Windsor. Platt came so close to beating Windsor. Cheshire, upset by law. Holy smokes, who saw that coming? Maloney, they remain undefeated. Southington remains undefeated. Lyman Hall bounces back with a win down at Ferran. Who am I missing, Sean? There's somebody else in there. Sheehan and Prep. Man, Sheehan going for an upset against Prep down in Wallingford. You know what? Let's go right over to Falcon Field, because that was the game that really went the extra mile, Shawnee. Double overtime game between Platt and Windsor. And Shawnee, man, Platt, really, they should have had it at the end of regulation, but they fall short 21-14 to Windsor. Double overtime. Let's take it from the top, because our man Spencer was there getting the highlights.
Yeah, so this started out all Windsor. The first quarter, Ken Gordon, 35-yard touchdown catch. That was off a tipped pass.
Yes. Crushing.
Crushing, very crushing, yes. And then the second quarter, Courtney Jackson to Gabriel Bryant, 29-yard TD pass. It was 14-0. Stayed that way until the half. And then a long kickoff return. And Sean Bell punched it in for one-yard touchdown. With 8.
Sean Bell Jr. was the one who had the kickoff
Yes.
return that led to that touchdown.
That's right. Yeah, good point. Yeah, yeah. So that was the big exchange for him, and then so they cut the lead to 14-7, and then the biggest play of the game for Platt defensively, Josh Rodriguez, 27-yard scoop and score, fumble recovery to tie the game in the second half. And then this went to overtime, but before it went to overtime, Platt had a chance. They had the ball inside the 10. With under a minute to go, missed field goal, and this game went to extra sessions. Platt had the ball first in the first overtime. They turned the ball over on downs. Windsor missed a field goal, and then it went to double overtime, and then
Then they
Platt
switch it around, right?
Yeah.
Windsor goes first.
Yep, and then they scored a touchdown, and then the game was over.
Oh, man, my heart breaks for Coach Jason Bruin and Bertie Nelson and Brian Frederick and the Panthers, because what a great start. They had 3-0, and they're right there with Windsor. They're down 14-zip. They come back.
Yeah.
Their defense played really well in the second half. They stopped Windsor twice inside the red zone. Hey, you know what? The opportunity comes and goes, as Jason Bruin says. Hopefully we learn from it. Maloney wins out at E.O. Smith 40-25, but really wasn't even that close, Shawnee, because it was like, 20-point game at halftime with Maloney cashing in on some E.O. Smith turnovers.
Yeah, 26-6 at the half. E.O. Smith turned the ball over 5 times. Spartans ended up going up 46-6 before they pulled their starters, and E.O. Smith had 3 late touchdowns. James Tarver carried the load, 17 carries, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Elliot Good had another big game, 15 attempts for 26, 15 for 26, throwing the ball, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Maurice Brackett and Jalen Nixon both with receiving touchdowns.
Our man Jalen, who was athlete of the week with like the all-time record for votes, right?
Yes.
Man, touchdown reception, fumble recovery. Good game for you, Jalen.
Yes, Jalen, yes. And Freddie Hidalgo rushing touchdown, and Victor Marquez had an interception for the Spartans.
Okay, so that makes Maloney 4-0. Also 4-0, Southington Blue Knights. They defeat Hall tonight 37-7. Slow going, actually. Hall scores the first touchdown, right, Shawnee? But then Southington grinds it out, and there's a two platoon system at work, because that's really what's going on here. Really, Southington, separate O, separate D, with a little, mix and match in between, but really 2 separate units, and it shows as the game goes on. Southington just took control, and then poof, lights out.
Yeah. The dynamic duo of Jacob Drina and Jacob Flynn connected 3 times for 3 touchdowns, 1 for 19 yards, 1 for 45, and 1 for 32. And that was the difference in this game. Also rushing touchdowns, 2-yard run by Dylan Cole. Tanner LaRose added 15-yard touchdown run, and Evan Johans 47-yard field goal to cap the scoring.
Yeah. Repeat that. Evan Johans, 47-yard field goal. At the high school level, when you got a kid who can kick that far. Basically, you get inside the 40, you're in scoring range. That can make a big difference. All right, further down Route 10 in Cheshire. Cheshire finally playing at home after 3 games on the road. They're up against Jonathan Law. Good chance to get that win, get the season turned around. And Cheshire was looking good. They had a lead late in the game. Christian Russo, their fine freshman, scores a touchdown to put them up. But boom, man, Law comes back, forces overtime shot. Our second overtime game of the night.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. Yeah, the Cheshire went up 30-27. Jotham Casey had his second field goal, and then in the first play of overtime for Jonathan Law, they score the game-winning touchdown. But yeah, like you said, this started out great for Cheshire. Casey had a field goal, and then in the second quarter, Jake McClendon had a 53-yard touchdown run. They're up 10-0, and they're rolling.
But Law wouldn't go away.
Law would not go away. Alex Frione had a 69-yard touchdown reception. They were up 17-6. Yeah, Law closed within 17-13 at the half. And, yeah, just a tough one. Jason Shamila was injured in that game, quarterback for Cheshire. And Alex Frione had an interception for Cheshire.
Yeah, big game for Alex Frione. Hopefully Jason Shamila is okay. He left in the first quarter. You hate to see kids get hurt.
Yeah.
Enough said. Also tonight, before we get on to our Sheehan prep highlights, down in Milford, Lyman Hall, good win for them. They defeat Ferrand 20-10. You know what? I'll tell you, Coach Bill Wyrock's team was a good defense. Our man Shakespeare Rodriguez, my kingdom for a pick 6. Kid has another one. I swear he has 150 on the season already. Shakespeare had 2 interceptions, returns 1 for a touchdown. Zach Kaiser had an interception. Zach, we know it was you. Zach Kaiser with an interception. And a good win for Lyman Hall. They were so frustrated last week, I know, against East Haven. They shouldn't be, because East Haven beat Xavier tonight 17-0. So that's saying something there. But Lyman Hall, good win tonight for them at Ferrand.
Yeah, Austin Ruiz started the scoring with a 2-yard touchdown run. Like you said, Shakespeare Rodriguez with the pick 6. And then the only scoring in the second half was Furkan Perkal with a 21-yard touchdown run.
To seal the deal for the Trojans. Good for them. All right, now let's go on to another big highlight game of the week. Spencer was down there. This is where he started his night. Spencer did pack his sleeping bag, though, which is good, because I know he's putting together all these highlights. Sheehan going for the upset of Fairfield Prep. Sheehan, smallest school by enrollment in football. Tier 3 school going against Prep, the biggest by enrollment. And they almost got him last year. It was tied in the fourth quarter before Prep pulled away late. So it wasn't beyond the realm of possibility that Sheehan could pull it off. But they fell behind early, Shawnee, tonight, and it just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately, for the Titans.
Yeah, so Prep led 3-0 after the 1 quarter. Terrence Bogan gave Sheehan their only lead of the game, 38-yard touchdown run. And then in the second quarter, Prep scored 3 straight touchdowns, and they took a commanding 23-7 lead. In the third quarter, West Jersey did find Aaron Simmons for a 38-yard touchdown to close the gap to 23-14, but that would be how it would end. Tyler Ekstrom added an interception for Sheehan.
Hey, you know what? You got hats off to Sheehan's defense. After that second quarter where they gave up those touchdowns, they didn't give up anything in the second half. Sheehan's a good football team, man. I'll tell you what, they got a big game coming up in a couple weeks. We have the bye next Friday, so there's only one game, Southington and Britain, which is a big one. But a couple weeks beyond that, from now, Sheehan and Joe Barlow, a replay of last year's Class M quarterfinal, which was a great game. Hey, Coach John Ferrazzi and his Titans, they're going to be playing a while this year. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, no question. That was a classic last year with Barlow, like you said.
Hey, and listen, one thing before we take our little halftime break here for This Week in High School Sports, talking about playing for a long time, we just want to say fairly well to a colleague of ours, Georgie Dalek, who was our right-hand guy. He was our layout guy back when sports paginated its own pages, back in the long ago days, when we put out our own section. And tonight's Georgie's last night with the Record Journal. And I don't know about you, Shawnee, but when I did desk, I would have the "What would George do" motto, because George was the master, man. And he's a good guy, he's a great colleague, good man to work with. I've been here 20 years, and Georgie's been here longer than that. And the place will not be the same without Mr. Jorge Dalik. Georgie, good luck to you, man, in the future.
Some of the best layouts I've ever seen, Georgie. I will miss you. And also Doug Bevins as well. definitely a shout out to those guys. They put in a lot of time here, and they'll be missed.
They will be missed.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back with the second half of This Week in High School Sports. All right, we are back with the second half of This Week in High School Sports, and we're going to start on Monday night up at Richatelli Field with the Lyman Hall Sheehan soccer doubleheader.
Yes.
You covered them both.
Yes, both very competitive games, both 1-0 Sheehan victories. We'll start with the boys. Marquis' goal came from 20 yards in the 52nd minute, and Julio Serna was credited with the assist, and that stemmed off of a corner kick. So that was a goal in the making there for the Titans.
And Matthew Marquis is one of our Athlete of the Week nominees.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a good recommendation by you, Shawnee. And hey, voting, we got to remind folks, voting is open through Sunday, midnight. Marquis is one of the nominees, and so is one of the boys from Lyman Hall, of course.
Yes, of course. Yes, Tyler Stoic was very strong all day for the Trojans. Gabe Wells was up to the challenge in net for Sheehan. So that was quite a way to start the day.
Gabe, I owe you an apology because in the Athlete of the Week show, I think I called you Dave Wells. I had David Wells on the mind for some reason. Sean, don't ask me why. And he had the shutout for Sheehan in the opening game of that doubleheader. Yeah. And then in the girls' game.
Yeah, Dubak scored her 8th goal of the season coming off of a corner kick. One touch. It was pretty similar to where Marquis scored his goal. You got to give the Trojans credit. The defense was strong in front of freshman goalie Bryant Nugent. This was just before Dubak's goal. She took a ball right off the goal line and preserved the scoreless tie to that point.
Sheehan sweeps Lyman Hall first time around. We're going to be back talking about these two teams next week, Shawnee, because they're playing, of course, again on Monday, the same night that Maloney Platt are playing their soccer doubleheader.
Yeah.
I think Real Madrid is playing that same night, too. Just all this soccer stuff on Monday. Before we leave soccer, we want to talk about the Southington girls because they had a big win on Thursday. Spence was able to get some good footage over there. Lady Knights defeating Farmington 2-1.
Yeah, team's 5-1 now. They're really rolling. Shannon Litchfield was the star. 2 goals, and both were set up by Ellie Carr. Litchfield scored in the first half. Farmington tied it early in the second half, and then Shannon Litchfield scored again from Carr in the second half. What a start for that crew.
Yes, good to see for Coach Mike Lenahan and the Lady Knights. All right, we're going to shift over to volleyball. Shawnee, you caught up with one of our better teams. All our teams are good, but this team, undefeated, and you caught up with them on Wednesday night. Sue Bavone and her Cheshire Rams, they are undefeated, and they're up to number 3 in the state poll. And of course, Southington number 1, but they're the Lady Rams. Again, off to an undefeated start like last year.
Yeah, 8-0. I saw them Wednesday night against Brantford. They swept them 3-0. And what stuck out with me with this team is they can serve. And the other teams just have a tough time returning it. And they have weapons all over the floor. They have a lot of size. This team is fun to watch. Lindsay Abramson had 5 kills, 2 blocks. The middle, Megan Klein, had 4 kills. They have 2 setters, Emma Watkinson and Michelle Frankel. They combined for 17 assists. Jenny Wang, who's been their most consistent threat most of the year. This team is rolling.
All right. The 2-setter system working well for the Rams.
Yes.
Huh? I like the theory of it. You got 2 girls on the floor who are good at getting the ball to distributing. And that way you don't have one girl necessarily scrambling all over the place like a maniac.
Yes.
Traffic can flow a little bit smoother. It's certainly flowing nice and smooth for the Rams. They are undefeated, just like the number 1 Lady Knights. Another strong program that Spence got some footage of on Tuesday, Wilcox Tech Delusion. They bounced back from their first loss. They lost to Cheney, and then they bounced back with a win over Kaner and O'Brien. They're 9-1. Coach Sue Planishek's team. Hey, a team to beat in the CTC for sure, Shawnee.
Yeah, like you said, they overcame that loss, and now they're 9-1 in the season. It's hard to believe we're 10 games into the season already. In the O'Brien game, Rios had 9 aces, and Lugadicio had 7, and they both had 6 assists apiece.
With all those aces, is there a need to assist anything?
Exactly. Another name that keeps popping up is Chloe Labissinaire. 8 kills, 3 digs, 2 aces. She had a big week for Wilcox Tech.
Are you making an Athlete of the Week hint to me, Shawnee?
No,
It's okay.
Chloe's up there for sure. There's plenty to choose from.
She is. Just as there's plenty to choose from Lyman Hall girls swimming. Finally, they get into the Division II portion of their schedule, and lo and behold, bang, they go against Guilford today. We're filming this portion of the show on Thursday, and they came away with their first win of the season, Shawnee.
It's got to be tough opening those first 4 matches up against Division I teams, but this is the real season for them, like you said. So Faith Gambardello was a double winner. She won the 200 free, the 100 backstroke. She also was a part of 2 winning relays with Christina Dristel, Caroline Krowick, and Sarah Beveridge. They both won the 200 medley relay and the 200 free relay. And then Claire Riccatelli Patina won diving, and Krowick, Beveridge, and Maeve Montave all were individual winners for Lyman Hall.
You know, obviously some of these names from Lyman Hall we know from past years, Gambardella and Beveridge. This Krowick girl is making some waves here, to be sure. Her name keeps coming up, even against the D1 school, so she was holding her own. She was winning some events there. Sweet Caroline. And on that sweet note, we're going to take our leave from you. I am Bryant Carpenter, sports editor of the Meriden Record-Journal, alongside my right-hand man, my brother in blue, Mr. Sean Krofsik, Spencer Davis behind the camera. Shout out to Justin Weeks, our photo man, and all the stringers and the writers we have out there doing a lot of coverage for us. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, Athlete of the Week voting goes through Sunday. We'll bring you the winners. Sean will be interviewing winners again on Monday. Bringing the show next Wednesday, next new batch of nominees. And we'll have the highlight show back here again next Saturday. It'll be October, Sean. New month.
Hard to believe.
We'll have to wear orange shirts then. I am Brian Carpenter. This is Sean Krofsik. Be good.